All right, we're back after closed session and reconvening the meeting. The first item would be report of actions taken in closed session. Trustee Milchecker, our clerk, is absent tonight. I've asked our Vice President, T.J. Prendergast, to please give the report.
Yeah, be Vice President. You don't do anything. Only action taken on a 6-0 vote. Board approved unpaid leaves for 2 classified employees. That was it.
Okay, thank you. And we'll now please rise for the invocation by Trustee Tom Fuentes. And please remain standing for the pledge given by Trustee Bill J.
Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, you, the God of whom we say, in God we trust. You, the God of whom we ask, God bless America. You, the God of whom we speak when we proclaim our people to be one nation under God. We ask you to bless our gathering this evening. We ask you to guide us in our decision-making. We ask you to bless all those who work in our district to educate and serve our students. We ask you to bless all the students who come to learn. We ask you to bless the people of the South Orange County Community College District. And in this month of the 100th anniversary of the birth of Ronald Reagan, whose role in the founding of this college and of our district was so critical, we remember him. Amen.
Okay. Trustee J.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our next item is resolutions, and we do have a resolution before us this evening in support of the California Community College Budget Priorities and Principles. And Trustee Tom Fuentes would like to address this item. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This resolution comes to us today, and I think that in light of the budget crises, it deserves greater consideration. I think that it would be premature to address the issue with what information we have only so far, and I would like to request 1 month for consideration, perhaps refinement, and discussion, that we might put it on the agenda a month from now, that we can have better input to it.
Okay, this is actually it is an action item, so we need a motion. So you're making a motion and
move to table for 1 month.
All right. Okay. All right. Anyone wishing to comment? Let's vote. Okay. We approved it with 1 trustee absent, Trustee Milchecker. Okay. Thank you. All right. We are now at public comments, and we have 2 individuals wishing to speak. William Hoff, please come forward. Mr. Hoff? He left? Okay. Okay. All right. And now we have our esteemed President Emeritus of Saddleback College, Richard McCullough. Coming out of retirement, are you?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to the board. I'm speaking on 2 items tonight on the agenda, 612 and 613, which refers to the Sciences Building for construction at Saddleback College, and you know that that is very near and dear to my heart for a long time. And I just want to thank the board and the Chancellor for bringing this to the level of the meeting for tonight, and certainly the college president, Todd Burnett, for spearheading this and bringing this forward. And Glenn Rockmore from IVC also, who supports this issue, and certainly Brandye, who has done a lot of work on it, and our division dean, Jim Wright, who is also spearheaded this, and the division members who are here tonight. I just wanted to thank you because this is so important for Saddleback College. I personally think it is the most critical step you can take for construction on this in this district is the Sciences Building. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, we will now move to oral reports from the board, and we'll start with Trustee Jay.
Thank you, President, and I have no board report this evening.
Okay. Trustee Meldau?
I have no report.
Okay. Trustee Prendergast?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about my attending the Astounding Inventions. It was very well presented again. It was a good testament that there's no shenanigans involved because my daughter only got a second place. So no favoritism. It's good to know. But if anybody wants Everlights, which are lights that you can put up and then program year-round for not having to take them down, that was hers. So we'll sell those to you. Also attended the President's Cup. That was a very fun event. I was a little worried that I might have been bad luck for IVC because I had to leave for another meeting, and I came back and they were ahead by like 20 points, and in about 10 seconds they were down or they were only up by, well, actually they went down by one for a little while, and I really was getting worried that I needed to leave again. But they prevailed, and congratulations.
Okay, and I guess I'll go ahead and give my report before we move on. I attended the same events that Trustee Prendergast attended, and of course, Astounding Inventions is always astounding, and it was just wonderful. I attended the President's Cup. I want to congratulate IVC for taking the President's Cup, and I did attend the Saddleback College's first playoff game on Friday, which they won, and they will be going to their second playoff game this Wednesday in Chula Vista. Right? Southwestern. So congratulations to them as well. And that's the end of my report. Trustee Fuentes.
Thank you very much. I first would like to...
Your mic.
Thank you. First, I would like to speak to activities of our Orange County Legislative Task Force. This is the body composed of representatives of the 4 community college districts of Orange County. On April 5th, the Legislative Task Force will send a representative to Sacramento for our intersegmental day, along with the University of California and the Cal State University representatives from Orange County to advocate about issues that affect our students. And on May 6th, the Orange County Legislative Task Force will host a breakfast event where our legislators will experience hands-on demonstrations of career technical programs from all Orange County community colleges to underscore their importance in workforce training in the region. I believe I earlier reported that this event was scheduled for March 11th, and this is a new date now on May 6th. I hope all our colleagues here will be able to attend. It's been a busy legislative year, and I want to thank our district chancellor and our public affairs director for keeping our legislators interested and involved in the important work of our colleges to help students succeed. Trustee Milchiker is not with us today, but at our next meeting, she's going to give us a report on her visit to Sacramento about the communication with our legislative delegation there. And for my own report, I would like to take this opportunity to invite one and all, both those here in the room and those watching on television, in this period of fiscal crises in the state of California. I think that all levels of government ought to be looking for every opportunity for cost-cutting and savings, creative ideas, and those just don't come from elected officials. They come from citizens, and that's all of you. And so I want to suggest that if anyone has ideas for cost cutting, for savings to implement in our own district where we can do a better job in this time of fiscal crises in our state, I would welcome those ideas. Call me, send me an email. I'd like to hear your ideas. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Lane.
Yes, thank you. I also managed to attend the basketball game at Irvine Valley College along with trustees Padberg and Prendergast, and congratulate Saddleback's men's basketball team on their outstanding victory that evening, and also on the teams as they move forward into the divisional playoffs, and of course to Irvine Valley College on taking the President's Cup this year. In addition to that, I also just wanted to wish a continued speedy recovery to Jim Gaston, who I know has been out, seriously ill, but now has been released from the hospital recently, and looking forward to having him back in the fold again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Student Trustee Shea?
Hello, everyone. I also recently attended the Astounding Inventions as well as the homecoming for IVC, and I have to say the students or the kids for the Astounding Inventions were very creative and very fun, and they were outgoing and they were very smart. And then the homecoming was also very fun, and that's it.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll now move to our discussion item, 4.1, and, I'm sorry, Chancellor's report. Beg your pardon.
I enjoyed attending several events in the last month. I went to the President Cup games at both Saddleback and Irvine Valley College, and particularly the last game, the women's game that determined the Cup victory was very exciting. I attended the Saddleback College Foundation dinner and the City of Tustin's mayor's inaugural dinner. I've been working with the college presidents and their constituencies to form committees to deal with the issues relating to accreditation, and I look forward to reporting back to you with the progress that we're making. There's a couple of upcoming issues of concern that I'll be bringing to the board. Number one is the 2020 Vision Report for Student Success. You've been hearing about this, and the community college system has committed to increase completions by 1 million by 2020. And at the next meeting, I'll ask the Vice Chancellor Bramucci to make a presentation of that report and give the board some understanding of what's in that. The following meeting, both of the college presidents and probably some of their staff also will be coming forward to present to the board information about how they're approaching this challenge and what we could expect them to be doing. The last item is ATEP, and starting next week or next month, I'll be bringing issues before the board for discussion, such as what programs should we offer there? Should we serve one campus or two campuses? Do we intend to try to reach center status? And I hope that the board becomes more informed and can give us some direction on these important issues.
All right. Now, are there any board requests for reports? All right, seeing none, we will now move to the discussion item 4.1, the district project plan and construction delivery methods. Vice Chancellor Bugay and our Director, Brandye Delina, will present this item.
Recently, we formed a committee, which is pretty common for college work, called the Capital Improvement Committee, and that consists of our facilities people at both colleges as well as the district and the financial people. And the intent of the committee is to try to come up with uniform numbers between the colleges and also look at methodologies and how we take care of our facilities. One item in response to comments made by the board is how do we get projects through the system faster? And based on that, we brought forward a consultant, surprisingly, Andreas. You know him more from closed session, but ends up that Andreas is a facilities guy. And frankly, the committee was astounded by a program called Leaseback, to the point that we felt that the Board of Trustees should hear a presentation by him. And I have to tell you, we have a phenomenal facilities person in Brandye Delina. She is not only enthusiastic and intelligent and sharp at the board meeting, but also behind the scenes. And this is one thing that she's been looking for us to possibly utilize this to get construction through the system faster, as well as a higher quality product. So with that, I'll introduce Brandye Delina. Brandye?
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Chancellor Portner. One of the things that must be determined when we're making decisions about construction projects is the delivery method that's going to be used, or how we might hold a contract with our construction people. This district historically has used a traditional method of design, bid, build. We've done a little off-take on that by also considering multiple prime contractors. And the design, build, bid, build method, or the multiple prime contractor method, requires that the drawings for the construction documents be completely developed before the contractor ever sees them. Once complete, the documents are then put out to bid, and the contractor, hopefully numerous contractors, provide us with a proposal. That's the first time they see the documents. Obviously, you're seeing me head to the direction of the disadvantage of bringing the contractor into the mix after the design is complete. That disadvantage has resulted in numerous public agencies looking to alternative delivery methods, those that might provide a more integrated approach. One, a method that would allow the contractor's expertise to be included during the design phase. As part of the solution and not as an afterthought, like we experience it during the design, bid, build phase, where oftentimes it results in a change order to the project. Two such methods that are currently being used by public agencies are design build, which we won't get into this evening, and leaseback. Today, I have the pleasure, as Dr. Bugay mentioned, of introducing Andreas Chialt with the law firm Atkinson, Andelson, Loya, Rudd, and Romo for a brief introduction into one of these two delivery methods, that of leaseback. So with that, here's Andreas.
Thank you, Brandye. I appreciate the introduction. It's always very thorough. Pleasure to be before the board again, and its newest trustees that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet. And now Chancellor. It's very nice. It's very nice to be in front of you. Leaseback is a construction delivery method that isn't really new. It's new to some, obviously those that haven't used it, but it's been done now for a good 15 years or so with K through 12 school districts, and in recent history, the last 4 maybe years, with college districts. So it's not new. Definitely interesting, has a lot of merit. It is born from a little Ed Code provision, 81335. There's a reciprocal code provision for the K through 12 districts, 17406, almost mirror one another. And really what this allows for is the college district, in this case, to lease property that it already owns to a contractor for $1. If that contractor receives that property, builds improvements on that property, and at the end of the lease, the improvements vest in the district. So you own those property improvements. That's really it in a nutshell. It's derived as really 3 major documents. There's a site lease, a sublease, and a construction services agreement. The site lease is the simple document that leases from us to the builder for $1. The sublease essentially just leases that property back from the developer or builder back to the college district. That document allows for us to pay sublease payments over time to the builder, which collectively will be really the price, the cost, if you will, for the construction. That's how that contractor is paid. And then the third agreement, the third document, is something called the Construction Services Agreement. That is really a typical document in the sense that it's like a general conditions construction arrangement. This is still a public works project. It's prevailing wage, everything but the competitive bidding piece. This process in general, as noted by Brandye, is an alternative delivery method. Alternative in the sense that you don't go through the typical scenario where you have plans finalized, you offer those through a bid, and you receive bids for the work. That's the traditional idea. That's what people think about in terms of construction. Here it's alternative in that you don't have to go through that bid process. You, in fact, can choose the contractor that you would like to operate with. Many districts do that through a request for qualifications or a request for proposals process, but under the statute, you have the ability to choose. This allows the parties to get together early, allows the contractor to be intimately aware of the project documents, the plans and specifications, talk with architects, do constructability review, value engineering, figure out really what it is that this project's all about. And ultimately, that contractor will give the school district, or college district in this case, a guaranteed maximum price. It's basically the price to say, hey, these plans and specifications will be built for this price. There should be no change orders other than what we build into the agreement if we want some flexibility. Generally, you have the ability to change the scope of work. If it's an owner-directed change, you, the board, decide that you want bigger auditorium, more HVAC unit because of a bigger auditorium, something of that nature, you have the ability to increase the guaranteed maximum price. Or if there's an unforeseen soil condition, there are a couple of nuance, in other words, a couple of issues there where we could see a fluctuation in price. But other than that, we generally deal with these leasebacks as a guaranteed fixed negotiated price between the parties in the contract documents with some contingencies depending on if it's modernization, new construction, what have you. This allows you to know and to budget for a construction project. These projects generally come in on time and on budget. There obviously is a huge incentive for builders out there to want you to refer work or at least say good things about them. So they're not looking to be a leaseback entity that comes in late or over budget, to be sure. And many of the large construction management firms that you've dealt with and that you know do leaseback projects. So it's not new in terms of that. That is it in a nutshell. There's these three documents that create this scenario. There's this open-ended possibility to have some selection process that you follow or not. Most districts do follow some selection criteria, some process, and that really gets you to where you want to be in this kind of give and take negotiation with the builder. The one caveat to this or change from what you're typically seeing with a traditional bid scenario is what we call a validation action. Validation action is really a preemptive action that you would file in Superior Court to bless the project. It's to bless the financing documents, the lease and leaseback structure, if you will, with Superior Court blessing. Sounds a little bit scary, really isn't. It's really kind of par for the course, and you hate to use the word cookie cutter in my profession, but we've dealt with a number of different counties, most counties throughout the state, on these leaseback projects. We have worked on leasebacks for community college districts. We've done Los Rios Community College District, did 2 parking structures. I did those myself. Sierra Joint Community College District is currently undergoing a few, completed 1, has 2 more underway, both for modernization and new construction. Yuba Community College District out of our Sacramento office is being completed, and they're doing a few as well. And then I've done about 200 on the K through 12 side, so quite a few different projects. And with the flexibility, we're talking about projects that deal with reuse of plans, simple projects underway to full-blown new campuses and the like. It's a very flexible method that allows for that change, if you will, in how you approach a project, the magnitude or size. We've had projects that are simply tracks, even to full-blown campuses. The law allows you to do new construction, modernization, or really any permanent improvement to school ground, or any improvement that you feel is necessary for the proper function and operation of a school facility. So it's open-ended in that regard. With that, that is leaseback in a nutshell. I had the pleasure of meeting with your committee, as Dr. Bugay mentioned, and that committee took about an hour and a half a month ago to go through this in a question and answer and really get a feel for leaseback. And I think they had some excellent questions, and they're certainly in the know. Any questions at all?
The Chancellor has a few.
Very good.
I think we ought to clarify why it is that we would be interested in an alternative delivery method. And it gets down to the problem that we face all the time with taking low bid per specification. Particularly recently, we've had a number of contractors who declared bankruptcy and thereby delay our projects for a number of months while we try to sort out what we're going to do. Often the work that's done with some of these contractors is not acceptable to us, and we wish that we could have gotten a better job. What this is a way to try to control those matters in advance and select only very qualified contractor bidders. Now, I want to say one more thing about what you said, and that's that you don't have to get proposals from other contractors. And I don't think we would ever intend to do that, because we would want to be able to have qualified contractors, not just one, not have a favorite. And I'd like Brandye to talk about how she sees you'd go forward with this.
Thank you. If we were to pursue lease-leaseback as a delivery method on one of our buildings, I perceive it as a very competitive process. We would put out to, first off, we would have an architect on board that would help us with the beginning of a design. We could have a fully completed set of documents, or we could decide to enter into this arrangement, as I mentioned before, earlier on in the process and get a contractor on board for a more integrated approach. That's what I would recommend to you. We would put it out to firms. First, we'd pre-qualify firms. We'd determine whether or not a contractor is capable of this approach, this delivery method, and then we would interview those folks. We would ask a limited number of people from that interview process to provide us then with proposals, which would include recommendations toward the design, modifications to the design, or how we might best move forward with this project. So right away, we're starting to incur benefit from this approach. Then we would select the contractor that we chose to be the most advantageous for the district, and that selection process would involve the quality of the firm, the history of the firm, in relationship to the project that we were proposing. Did they have experience with projects like this before? We could go as deep as having them identify for us who their subcontractors would be, so that we would have an awareness of an overall team. Again, it's for me all about an integration of the project. So our overall team is confirmed as quality contractors. You've seen it numerous times over this last few months where we brought to you subcontractors who couldn't follow through with the contract agreements, and so we're substituting subcontractors. This approach would help to alleviate some of that. So then, finally, we would choose the contractor and move forward with that contractor. Does that explain what you were hoping for, Chancellor Portner? Okay. And also I can answer any other questions you might have.
All right, Trustee Lang.
Yes, I guess I'm just interested in maybe Andreas addressing some of the legal ramifications of this. It sort of sounds like the lease-leaseback option is really kind of a way of getting around the public law that requires no bid. And can you speak to that a little bit in terms of what the dynamic is here?
Sure, absolutely. What you just heard from Brandye, real quick, if I could mention, that is really a fantastic approach. It's its best practices approach of bringing in a selection criteria that you follow, and it's an open, transparent process. That isn't legally mandated, but certainly a best practice. Your question really goes to the legality of this, and it is perfectly legal. This statute allows us to move forward without the lowest responsible bid. It was put on the books literally because there are issues associated with lowest responsible bid. I think the good news for the community and the state of California is that it typically follows what's traditional when it comes to certain methods, including a traditional bid approach for construction. But then when something doesn't quite work, we have latitude, and we have a number of different avenues to follow with design build, construction management at risk, or multi-prime, or here lease-leaseback. Lease-leaseback, being a perfectly legitimate statute, is alternative in that sense, and it is a little bit odd for those that have never used it, especially when they're talking about validating through a court process the reason for it. We move forward with the validation action process, again, as a best practice approach, because what you're getting is you're getting the stamp of approval from Superior Court, and you're literally receiving a judgment that says that the public contract code is rendered moot by these statutes, by this particular statute for you and for the K through 12 reciprocal statute. We've now received that throughout the state, as have competitor law firms and school districts out there that are using this method. So it's been seen, it's been tried and true, if you will, and tested, but it has never gone the distance. It's never gone through a court proceeding where it's been hashed out in front of a jury or a judge. But again, for 15 years now, we've been, like I said, 200 alone, just my practice, projects that would, if you calculated those dollars, it would be a huge amount of money going to something other than that lowest responsible bid scenario. And it's really great for districts that have issues or have, in the past, received something that it didn't believe was as much bang for its buck that it could have received.
So if I
Yeah,
may,
go ahead. Sure.
so why haven't more districts gone to this type of an approach? Have there been any problems that have arisen from using this approach as opposed to the other approach?
None on the college district side of things. On the K through 12 side of things, we have seen over the course of the last 5-6 years or so some dialogue, some discussion. In 2004, 2005, there was a fair amount of discussion at the state level, and there were those detractors, if you will, from the process to say, hey, shouldn't these dollars go to lowest responsible bid? The state, in its wisdom, punted to the legislature. That is, the agencies we were dealing with, the funding agencies, were at one point looking to hear labor's side of things, hear the school district's side of things, and come down on one side or the other. They ultimately punted and said to the legislature, hey, you put it on the books. Do you want to keep it on the books? And thus far, it has been on the books. There have been legislation in the past that's been authored that would change it or tweak it. A couple pieces of legislation have been vetoed. Those were in 2005 and 2006, respectively. So far, nothing has changed it. It's there, and it's been used. And again, I don't want to get the feeling that it's rare. In the K through 12 arena, it's not rare at all. It's more rare, I think, in the college district arena. But it's being done. I noted those few examples, and I believe the Chancellor's office has said in the past that it's appropriate, and it's not an issue. What we don't want to have happen is that we begin a process, we start construction, and those would-be bidders who didn't have an opportunity to bid see mobilization on your project. And they then come forward and say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't get a chance to bid. By going forward with a validation action, it takes us a few months to go through that process, but it's very minimal in terms of legal costs and the like. When I mean minimal, I mean $5,000 to $7,000 range for that stamp of approval that you're going to move forward and you won't be challenged. That's why we recommend that.
Trustee Prendergast.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. It sounds to me that in essence, the idea of going with lowest bid is that you're going to save the public money and so forth, but it winds up costing more because you have the change orders and so forth. So is there precedent, is there case examples where that there could be a showing that this actually saves money in the long run?
Absolutely. It is a project-by-project basis, as you imagine. I've had districts contact me and say, hey, look, we just went to bid, and the project figures are coming in high, really high construction budgets, and this is just too much money. And essentially, this is a reuse of plans from a building we've constructed in the past. We go back to that original contractor who did the first construction and say, what guaranteed price would you give us? You've done these plans. Then we go out to the community out there in terms of the bidding or builder community and say to them, you do work like this. What price can you get us? And it's through that sort of informal negotiation and discussion that we get to a guaranteed price that is often many millions cheaper than it would have been at bid. The economy has changed, and with that, bids have changed. We've seen an uptick again in a lot of lease-back work because there are plenty of contractors and subcontractors coming forward. And in the subcontractor realm, we've got people that are residential roofers saying, I'll build you an elementary school or a wing of a particular college building or what have you. And they're typically not capable of that scope of work. And you're going to see issues and problems. I can't stand here today and tell you you're going to get every dollar that you would have had you gone to bid. But I can assure you have an easier project. And I believe, from my experience and those of my colleagues, that you do better overall with the lease-back. You aren't going to have those getting changed order to death problems moving into the future. And you're going to know who you're dealing with. And there's a real incentive with the general contractor to get the project done. And get it done on time and on budget, and tell their subcontractors, let's move on. This is ours. They have more of an ownership interest, if you will, in the overall. It's a teamwork approach, and it's difficult because it sounds a little kumbaya in team spirit, if you will, for construction. And I know many don't see it that way or have had plenty of experience with contractors. Not to say that contractors are in the wrong, but when you have a contractor-owner relationship, there are things that may go wrong there. With lease-back, you really do have this teamwork approach. It's to everybody's benefit to complete on time. And really, if you're comfortable with your plans and specifications and your price, you shouldn't need to know much more. You're going to get that set of plans and specifications for that price. There's no incentive for the contractor to change that.
And no experience with them going bankrupt?
No, I've had no lease-backs where a general contractor went bankrupt. I have had, out of a couple hundred projects, no lease-back projects. This isn't to say it couldn't happen, but no contracts where we ended up in litigation at the end of the project. not once.
Trustee Lang?
During this validation process, is that a way for other companies to challenge the this lease-leaseback arrangement with one particular contract? Is that part of that process?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, what you have is a filing in Superior Court. You're asking the Superior Court to bless your summons, your notice to the world, if you will. You notify all persons interested in this lease project for this particular site that you're doing a project under the lease-leaseback method with so-and-so contractor, whoever it is that you choose. They then have 31 days to give an opinion, to challenge, to file an answer with the court, etc. At the end of that, if we've heard nothing, we ask the court for a default judgment, is what it's called. And that's where we ask for a judgment that says this statute renders the public contract code moot. All of the documents that we have are valid and binding documents, and everything's legit. And we move forward at that point.
Is it typical that other firms do come forward within that time frame?
Atypical. We have had it happen a few times in the, again, last decade plus. The 2 times that it happened on projects that I was dealing with, they were union groups that wanted to ensure that prevailing wage was being paid and that their constituents, their other union organization affiliate groups had an opportunity to work. And we made very clear the process that was being followed by the general contractors, how those subs could be a part of it, the trade days, local hiring, all sorts of things, and made them happy in every case. So again, it's no panacea. It's construction. So I don't want to paint the wrong picture, but I've found it to be a streamlined process. And for what it's worth, those owners, those districts that try it generally do it more than once. So I think that's
Trustee
valid.
Meldau?
I believe we said that this would speed up the entire process. Is that correct?
It would speed up construction generally when you have a timeline and there's no delay beyond or change orders. But it wouldn't speed up the bid process, the front end piece necessarily. It depends on what we're doing with our plans. This is flexible. We try to get contractors in early on, but it needn't be that. If we had a set of plans and we were ready to go, we could still use lease-leaseback. The time spent with lease-leaseback and those negotiations would be similar to bid. So I can't say that it would speed it up per se.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Seeing more.
Thank you.
No more questions.
Pleasure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gary, Chancellor had a question. I didn't see his light. Sorry.
Before we get away from that topic, Brandye, do you have any opinions about projects that you would like to use this construction strategy with?
Absolutely. I'd like to use this construction strategy for the Saddleback College Sciences building. I had thought about it for the Life Sciences building, which is out to bid right now, and then realized we would have to have had reported that to the State Chancellor's office, and it would have impacted our funding. But with the Sciences building, I strongly recommend that we move forward in this direction. I'd also like to say that, if you don't mind, when I first started working for this district 3.5 years ago, I came from a K-12 district that had just approved a lease-leaseback project. I worked on the selection, I worked on the qualification, we did the validation, we were ready to go, and I got this lovely job. And so I've been waiting for a time that was appropriate to share this with you. I hope this is it.
All right. Thank you very much. And we have another discussion item tonight, 4.2, New Market Tax Credit Report. You want to introduce this? David? Okay.
Look at the actual item itself. I included an exhibit with it that talks about the new market tax credit transaction process, labeled Exhibit A on 4.2. In essence, what happens...
Could you move your mic closer?
Sorry.
There you go.
Was better?
Better.
Okay. If you look on Exhibit A on item 4.2, it's a very, very brief summary of what's going to happen with it. The estimated building costs we have for the ATEP project itself will be about $29,800,000. And the entire district allocation for that, we've already allocated $12.5 million for construction at ATEP. You'll see the one change is that if you look in the very bottom figure, you'll see the new market tax credit subsidy is now $17,310,000. Originally, when we first started talking about the new market tax credit, that figure was just over $8 million. What's happened is the market's changed. And with the market change, in essence, for us to contribute any additional dollars which we anticipated originally, That's changed. The investor that's come forward now, and you'll see later on the agenda, it was brought forward by a broker, and that broker is the one that brought that forward, which is why we have that as an item for approval later on. But with this transaction now, there'll be no additional funds allocated for the building, and yet we'll be purchasing, in essence, a $30 million building for the total cost of the district of $12.5 million. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay, you're welcome.
Any other presentation you have from, I know we have representatives here in the
They're
audience.
here in case the board has any questions. I want to
Okay.
make sure the board's comfortable with this.
All right, Trustee Fuentes.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to offer some observations and comments about this new markets program. I cautioned my colleagues when this was first brought to us, and we've had an awful lot of discussion about this behind closed doors. I cautioned that I had a concern that this program needed daylight. It needed to be discussed and questioned in the public's eye. And I find, from my perspective, that it continues to move forward, yet we have not had an adequate open discussion with participation from the community and dialogue here in the public eye. There have been many articles written about this new markets program in the media, some demonstrating scandalous problems across the country. When I was a young man growing up in Orange County, a student at a community college here in Orange County, Santa Ana College, we used to refer to Tustin as a very important part of our community, and the folks from Tustin would have bumper stickers that used to read, Tustin, the Beverly Hills of Orange County. The folks from Tustin were very proud of that. I don't know if that's shifted, but I do know that parts of Tustin and parts of their zip codes there, North Tustin, etc., have some of the highest incomes in the Orange County community. A study of the New Markets program, a program advanced initially during the Clinton administration, shows that it was a program conceived to assist low-income communities. The ATEP project for which we're talking about New Markets is in the city of Tustin. I believe we're playing a game here. We're playing a game that because this census tract, which includes the old base, was for a time during the census of 2000 in a restricted income community because of the military personnel who lived there. But much has happened in that community. It's a high-end development now with stores and facilities, hardly a poverty area. I'm troubled that this district is contemplating participating in this kind of a game. The Treasury controls, the United States Treasury controls who gets tax credits money and how these subsidies can be used. The agency bases decisions on census tracts, which are supposed to have common economic standards. Only tracts with at least a 20% poverty rate or with a population earning 20% less than the median family income of the surrounding metropolitan area qualify for subsidized projects. Authorities and people of responsibility in Washington have questioned the use of new market monies, because in some cases, the program standards open up some of the nation's wealthiest areas to development with these funds. Taxpayers have subsidized projects in tracts with median family incomes as high as $200,000. I don't
Trustee Fuentes, do you have a question?
No, I have comments that I'm making
Okay.
to this.
Okay, could you try to wrap it up, please?
I believe that we have the cart before the horse. We have a program and a proposal that has not been adequately shared with the people of our district. Too much has been discussed behind closed doors. This New Markets program is clearly corporate welfare. It's to benefit the rich, and it is a scam to suggest that the utilization of this taxpayer assistance in a community as successful as Tustin, a community of which we're very proud to have in our district. I believe that this New Markets program utilization by our district is unworthy. Thank you.
Trustee Prendergast.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to debate the philosophy of how they're used. I do think I want to clarify a little bit about the area. It's my understanding the way this works. It's not how rich our district is or a community at large. It's more about the area where the construction is taking place. And as a resident across the street, essentially, from that area, I can tell you the Red Hill, Edinger to the 5 freeway, McFadden, 55 freeway, that kind of square, rhomboid, whatever you want to call it, is some of the lowest income area in Tustin. And I know when we purchased our house, we had many people telling us we were living on the wrong side of the freeway, that we were going to be experiencing things. And it didn't matter to us because it was all we could afford. But the idea is, the concept is that if this program is for low-income areas, that's bordering right on there. I know the base itself is you're absolutely correct. Things have changed. It's not housing there anymore because it's a development now for businesses and so forth. But just drive down between Red Hill and Barranca, and you can see that area has not developed anything greatly nearly the hills of Tustin, the area of Tustin that actually has physically tried to separate themselves from the rest of Tustin by calling themselves North Tustin. So I would like to clarify that if it's the area where it's being built, that is the low income area of Tustin.
Chancellor Portner. Mike. Push your mic button.
I'll learn that yet. We've been struggling for some time on the question of how are we going to pay for the development of the ATEP base with instructional programs without a real strong detrimental effect on our colleges. Because let's face it, any dollar spent at ATEP is a dollar that we could redirect to our colleges, and we have an agenda item later here today where we're talking about the many projects, very expensive projects that we need to complete. We've talked about new market tax credits in public meetings, I think at least a half a dozen times in this very room. I don't think this is the first time it's been brought up. I think we're not trying to force these credits in a track that may not comply. It very definitely does fit the requirements of the tax code in the federal government. It's an opportunity for us to get almost $18 million that we don't have to pay back, that can be used to develop that area that basically is a rundown military base. I think it'll help the Tustin community. It'll help our district and its students. And I think it's a good program to move forward with.
Yes, I'd just like to chime in and say that it's about the base. It's not about the city of Tustin. And the base is basically a rundown area, and it's no different than redevelopment monies. So, Trustee Lang.
Yes, so long as we do have our consultants with us, including, I know, Dante Gamuccio, who had talked about this program to us initially. I'd like to have him, if he would, perhaps address the corporate welfare issue that Trustee Fuentes has brought up to the board.
President Padberg, members of the board, Chancellor Portner, Board Member Lang, thank you for asking me. Let me address your specific question first, the question of corporate welfare. The way that PEI has structured, and I'm the CEO of Public Economics Inc., PEI, the district's consultant in this matter. The way we have structured the pending new markets tax credits financing will require the investor to purchase the tax credits and to pay, in fact, above market price for those credits. If the investor could simply make the investment and receive the credits, that might be corporate welfare, I suspect. But we're asking, in essence, the investor's investment to be the purchase of the credits at above market rate. And I think that addresses specifically the question of corporate welfare. It would be corporate welfare if no purchase were required.
Not quite, if I can come back to you. Even though they may be paying a market rate, it's certainly not the same amount as the credit against their taxes that they would receive. Otherwise, why would they do it? So,
and I can respond to that.
Okay, thank you.
Any business that makes an outlay is looking for a rate of return on its outlay. It regards that outlay certainly one that may bring returns over multiple years. It wants an internal rate of return that is acceptable, that makes it worthwhile to lay out the capital expenditure in order to get the returns over time. In the current market, the required internal rate of return, of course, varies substantially from one investor to another, because it's not like there's 9,000 or 9 million investors out there chasing these tax credits. But we're looking right now at an internal rate of return on this particular investor's investment of about 15%. So if you take the net present value of the stream of tax credits which accrue to the investor over 7 years, convert all of that into today's dollars, and compare that to what the investor is willing to pay for that privilege of getting the credits are worth about 15% more than he's paying. Okay? And so that's sort of the direct response to your follow-up question. If I may make a couple of other comments, there's a saying that the exception proves the rule. And in the case of any federal program or government program or college district program, for that matter, where there are public policy objectives, our success rate isn't 100%. And in the case of the New Markets Tax Credits program, studies have determined that perhaps 10% of the New Markets Tax Credit program have involved upscale projects like commercial hotels in downtown Chicago, or projects that cater to the wealthy, the upper income among us. And I would say, with respect to the ATEP project, number one, we're not talking about an upscale commercial development. We're talking about a community service institutional development that is specifically intended to serve community college students and to perform workforce development. So that's in the other 90% of the new market's success, as opposed to the 10% that is unfortunately in reality present in some projects. That's not present here. Now, in terms of the geographic area, I think I can help clarify a couple of things. In order to be eligible for a new markets tax credits transaction, a low-income community is defined along the boundaries of a census tract. And the census tract in which ATEP is located doesn't include all of Tustin Legacy. It includes most of it, but not all of it. And the part that it excludes is on the east, southeast, the southeast. And the part that it includes in particular is on the west. Now, the boundary of this census tract extends west of Red Hill. It extends all the way to the 55 freeway. And it extends north to Walnut Avenue, and it extends south to the 405 freeway. And then on the east, on the northern part of the census tract, it's Harvard Avenue, and on the southern part of the census tract, it's the Peters Canyon Channel. Wow. Now, in 2000, the base was largely closed by that time. But in this area, there were 7,399 residents. The poverty rate for those residents was 17%. The median family income was nearly 39% below the metropolitan median. And it was on the latter basis, not on the former, that this census tract qualifies for new markets tax credits, because to qualify, you have to satisfy either a 20% poverty rate. This census tract only has 17.2, or you have to have satisfy 20% lower than median family income. This is 39% lower than median family income. So on that criterion, we qualify. But in addition to being qualified, this census tract also qualifies as highly distressed, quote unquote, which in federal law requires a two-part test. Part A has 3 demographic indicators, and we're close on all 3 of them. We only would need 1 under Part A to be highly distressed. We don't quite make it on any of the 3 for Part A. But if you don't make it under Part A, you can qualify under Part B. There are 17 indicators under Part B. We qualify under 2 of them, and that makes us highly distressed. The first is that our median family income is less than 30% less, or more than 30% less, I guess is the way to say it, of the region. And of course, ours is nearly 40% less, so that's one. And the other is we're in a redevelopment project area, which is the former military base. In California law and in the California Constitution, a redevelopment project area is a blighted area that is predominantly low income. And so because we're in a redevelopment project area, and because our census tract has way more people below 70% of the median, we were 61% of the median, we qualify as highly distressed. So I could say more, but I'll leave that for now unless there's a follow-up question.
We have a question. Trustee Prendergast, please.
Yeah, I just want to know, is there any need or any belief that it might change with the new census? Is there an expediency to doing this before new data comes out?
Well, we do have a 2010 census that has data available at the state level, and I think may now be coming out at the city level. We don't have data yet available at the census tract level. What typically happens in large census tracts like this one geographically is as development occurs, the census tract is split. And my expectation, and I can't be sure that this will happen, but this is what I expect to happen, is that the easterly part of our census tract will break off because that's where most of the development is, and the northern part of our census tract, which will leave as a sort of a rump of our current census tract what we have. And I think we will probably still qualify as a rump census tract under the New Markets program and as a highly distressed low-income area. But I can't say for sure that that will happen. And because we don't know for sure that it will happen, there is a certain expediency to proceed on the basis of the public record that we now have on the 2000 census and try to get this transaction finished, by the middle of the summer, if not sooner. But we may find, even being expedient, that no expediency was needed once the census tracts are redefined, but we just don't know what's going to happen.
Did you have a follow-up?
It's just nice to know I live in a low-income area.
Trustee Lang.
Assuming that we move forward with the new markets tax credit, do we have any exposure in the future that those credits might need to be repaid if certain conditions or qualifications weren't met?
There are certain de minimis conditions that have to be satisfied in order to ensure that the new markets funds continue to be used for their intended purpose. So really the only thing that could cause a problem for us is if we didn't spend the proceeds the way we said we would. Okay, that could cause a recapture event. And there is a certain amount of due diligence that's required until the proceeds are expended to make sure that no recapture occurs. But that recapture is the worst possible thing that could ever happen with one of these transactions. And so all the parties are highly incentivized to make sure that we abide by the conditions of the
But other than that, no requirements that we create a certain number of jobs, that no other conditions attached?
No. Okay. Now, clearly, our intent is to create a certain number of jobs and to have a certain socioeconomic impact, and we fully expect that we will. But no, nothing is tied to any specific threshold.
Trustee Fuentes?
I guess this question is for the Chancellor. Gary, if we rush into this, try to do this so we get in before the new numbers of the census tracts are here, and we tie ourselves into this borrowing, we tie ourselves into this new markets program. And then as a board, we come to our senses and say, gee, we shouldn't be building this big white elephant at ATEP. We should be spending the money at Irvine Valley College and Saddleback College. That's really what our obligation to the people of this district is. What are our commitments?
The commitment, if we proceed with the new market tax credit, is that we do build that building. And if we don't intend to build the building, we should stop it right now.
Well, to that I would say that, once again, we're cart before the horse. We haven't decided to build that building, but we're tying ourselves into this that locks us in. And there's too much that goes on in this district on that formula that we get sucked into obligations before we've thought it all the way through. And I'm very concerned about that.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to now advance 6.14 because it has to do with new market tax credits. And we have discussed this repeatedly. So 6.14, would you like to present that, Chancellor?
So I'll ask Vice Chancellor Bugay to present this.
On this item, you recall that we had a shift in the amount of money, actually increasing the total amount for the new market tax credits if we go forward with that program. And with that, this actual broker has actually gone ahead and brought forward this person. And you recall that Dante presented the fact that this person is paying above market premiums for this. So this item actually approves the brokerage agreement to bring that person forward.
Okay, to bring the actual item forward.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Prendergast.
I just wanted to clarify, did we have a discussion, I'm mixing things together maybe, 6.15, did we need to do that one first? Is that an issue that we need to do the nonprofit status before we approve the brokerage?
No, they're
I don't
actually.
think, no, go ahead.
Excuse me. They're actually independent of each other in this case. The brokerage agreement is separate because this is just a contract to approve them, to hire them to bring that person forward.
Right, and I hadn't planned to advance that one next because it is related. So do I have a motion for approval?
I will move approval of motion 6.14.
Do I hear a second? All right. No, seeing no one else wish to speak, let's vote. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, we have the motion passes with one absent and one no vote, and one advisory vote from the student. Yes. Okay, all right. And the Chancellor tells me that 6.13 should be advanced too because it is actually related to this item. So I'll ask that the Chancellor present this. And this is also something that I guess Trustee Lang had requested an analysis and a report on.
Yes, Brandye will present the information, but let me introduce it by saying that this item has been brought forward in response to Trustee Lang's request at the last meeting for a report on how can we move more quickly with this construction projects that we have in line, since this is now a time when bidding prices are exceptionally good in this economy. So Brandye prepared a report on what we think we can handle with the staff that we have. And you'll see and there's a recommendation, I'll also tell you at the back of this, that deals with what Trustee Fuentes just asked for. And that's to approve proceeding with the first building in Phase 3A.
And if I could just clarify, this would be what the brokerage company would be working towards with the new market tax credits, that first building. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was messing with the presentation up here, so I may repeat a few of the things that Chancellor Portner just said. So in January, when we discussed the and the slideshow is now on your screens. And so when we discussed the capital improvement considerations, Trustee David Lang requested an analysis that would accelerate project scheduling to capitalize on current low construction rates related to basic aid expenditures. And this presentation is to address that request. So let's look at basic aid availability first. In the January board report for basic aid expenditures, it was noted that there was approximately $130 million in the 2011 and forward column. Some of the $130 million are encumbered funds, encumbered for ongoing capital improvement projects such as the library here at Saddleback College, and encumbered in the life sciences project over at IVC. So those wouldn't really be available for consideration. And then there are other than capital improvement projects, such as the student information systems that was developed by the IT department. So after removing encumbered funds, then we are left with approximately $48 million. And this isn't really meant for you to read all the projects, but really just to demonstrate that it's clearly a smaller list than you see originally in the basic aid report, and to point out that it's approximately the $48 million of unencumbered funds. So there's the funding consideration. That's kind of the parameters of what we're looking at. Now let's move away from the funding consideration and into project potentials. So again, last month we looked at a 5-year plan. Here's another look at that exact same 5-year plan. And recall that this is a list of projects for both campuses, which is sent annually to the State Chancellor's office. And that the defined priorities you see before you involves participation of district staff. The IVC and Saddleback College presidents participate in this selection process and the prioritization process, and then the Chancellor brings forward a recommendation. This list that you're looking at is your approved recommendations from June 2010. So you also notice that there were three colors. It's looking all kind of blue and green right now, but the light blue is projects that are underway. And so there is no need for us to expedite those projects. They're underway, or they're projects that are secondary effects of projects that are underway. So I've highlighted those as projects that we wouldn't need to consider at this time. The dark blue project, let me go into the greenish projects. The greenish projects, the color that is demonstrated with the fine arts, item 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 19, those are all projects that are in the queue for receiving state funding. And so I think we're not at a place where we would like to think about taking those out of that queue yet, with the exception of project number 4, which is the Sciences Building. So all other potentially state-funded projects are remaining within that queue, and so we'll eliminate them from consideration today. And then finally, the dark blue projects are projects that would be considered under another heading. So, for example, project number 16 will be addressed relative to project number 17, repair TAS building. And then project number 18, as recently as last week, was discussed during the current Education and Facilities Master Planning Project, is one that we might like to fold into the A400 renovation, given that it's in the same neighborhood as the A400 renovation. So if we agree that these are good reasons to exclude projects from consideration, then in the top 20 projects of our 5-year plan, we will find these 5 projects: the Sciences Building, remodel A400 for classroom over at Irvine Valley College, the Barranca Entrance Project over at Irvine Valley College, a repair of a renovation of the TAS building here at Saddleback College, and the new Loop Road and College Drive improvements here at Saddleback College. So those are the projects that we're thinking about. Now, if we add in the ATEP first building for Phase 3A, then within your packet earlier you saw this matrix of projects. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us just to go over this matrix just a little bit. So on the left-hand side, that very first column, it identifies those 5 projects from the previous list, as well as adds the first building for Phase 3A. In the brown box just below the names of the building are the estimated project budgets. And just below that, still in that first column and in that dark green box, are the funds that the board that you have already assigned to these projects. So for the Sciences Building, you see 3.8. For the Barranca Road, you see the amount that has been estimated, so it's fully funded by the board right now. The ATEP first building, no dollars applied just yet. ATAS has 1.9 and Loop Road has 3.4 million assigned to that project. Now moving into the next column, the winter-spring column of 2011, we see a lighter green bar, and that bar represents at the Sciences Building and at the ATEP first building dollars that have been assigned to other projects within those campuses. Now I'm going to move to my next slide just to make it a little bit easier to see. These are lists of projects that are on the basic aid report and are part of that $48 million that we talked about. The MSE building, soil and slab repair, plaza repair, renovation, building ventilation system equals $14.789 million. And then all the ATEP projects equal 12.5. So with those $2 added together, we're now at $27 million worth of funding that have been assigned but haven't been encumbered. So could we reassign those? And that's my suggestion, is that we reassign those. And let's go back to that matrix. Oh, sorry. So we go back to the matrix, and we see that $14.7 million for reassignment to Saddleback College and the $12.5 for reassignment at ATEP to the first building. And then again, just below, just for edification, my last number on new market tax was $11 million. The $11 million that we could have received from new market tax credit has been identified as possibly more funding, and the project budget of the first building is, approximately that $23 million that you see there. So that's fairly covered. So reassignments and new market tax credits to these buildings. Now what's left is moving over one more full column. You'll see at the very top of from summer, fall, winter, spring, 2011, 2012, so the fiscal year of 2011, 2012, that's the year we're in right now. Uncommitted basic aid receipts there actually are uncommitted basic aid receipts of $33 million. We're suggesting that you take those $30 million, that's money we have today, can plan on today. It's not money we're projecting, mostly. And the $29 million of that $30 million would be to the Sciences Building at Saddleback College, and $1 million of that $30 million would allow for us to begin design on the A400 renovation over at Irvine Valley College. So one of the things that I wanted to point out to you is that when we are asking the State Chancellor's Office for funding on projects, they require that that funding has been assigned to the project before we move forward with a phase. So that's what I'm proposing to you here as well, that we not move forward into any phases until funding's been assigned. So for instance, at the Sciences Building, you'll notice that the break between design and construction happens after the beginning of next year's fiscal year. So we won't enter into a construction contract until next year's basic aid funding is assigned. So we're not out on a limb beyond our means.
Is this in 613 in the board agenda?
Trustee Jay, you need to press your button if you want to be recognized.
Is it in section 613? Yes, it is. So this is the backup to that. Okay, so like I was saying, the construction won't start until the project is fully funded. And no phase in this plan would start until the project, that phase of the project has been funded. The Sciences Building, we'd go into design, and we'd add some dollars even into construction, but we're not there all the way yet, so construction doesn't happen yet until we assign more dollars. Baranka Road, fully funded, so we can go through, we can start construction. You see that construction would start fiscal year 2011, 2012. The first building at ATEP, the design brings us all the way into the fiscal year 13-14. Unless we took a different delivery approach, and we would definitely need to look into that and discuss that before we took any action. We wouldn't move into any obligation. My point is, we wouldn't move into any obligation until the funding was made available for that obligation. All right, the next project, the A400 project, we would have the money available at the assignment of $1 million to start into the design. And then at the following fiscal year, we would ask for additional money. Now, I want to talk about both the ATAS renovation at Saddleback College and the Irvine Valley A400 renovation. Both of those projects are not yet designed, and so those project estimates are a little more estimated and we're a little less aware of the definitive of that. For that reason, I've identified a margin at the bottom, the very bottom of the second fiscal year of assignment. There's a $5 million margin that would be left unassigned at this point. It's obviously not going to be assigned until that point anyway, and we'll have a better understanding of it. But just for the process of planning, That $5 million's been set aside because we anticipate that both the 400 and the ATES renovations might be more dollars than what are identified in that estimate. And then the Loop Road project, you see that you've already assigned $3.5 million. For both the Loop Road and the Barranca Road projects, we've already performed a phase 1 analysis of those projects. We're feeling fairly confident that those numbers are good, strong numbers. And you can see that, like I said, Barranca Road fully funded. We could move forward completely with that. The Loop Road is not yet fully funded. We would move forward with design, and it says secondary effects there. Secondary effects are related to things like stormwater or moving a practice field. That would be in the way of the Loop Road. Those things would take place before the construction. And with that, I think I may have explained it fully enough, and I'm open for questions.
Trustee Prendergast.
Yeah, you had identified earlier that if we went with the leaseback, the science building, are there any other projects on here that would qualify for that, if that's a program they wanted to start using?
Yes, the Barranca Road project would qualify for that. The first building at the Phase 3A, not so certain about that with new market tax credits with relationship to leaseback and ownership of the property. Talking a little out of my area of expertise there. ATAS would be a project that we could consider for that. A400 would be a project we could consider for that, as well as the Loop Road. So all of them with the exception of perhaps the ATEP project.
Trustee Jay.
Yes, I'm concerned that we're discussing item 6.13, and that it would be appropriate to move that particular item now or not.
Yeah.
Okay, I will move item 6.13 then, as is defined in the basic agenda, and with this addendum that Brandye has so neatly proposed for us.
Thank
All right,
you.
do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. We have more people wanting to talk and discuss the item. Trustee Lang.
First of all, I want to thank you for an excellent report.
Thank you.
And also the prospect of being perhaps able to move forward with some of these projects in a more expeditious manner. I think it's frankly important that we get some of these things done, while we've, got the financial capability to do that and at a propitious time. The one item that I wanted to ask about was on the budget reassignments. So,
Oh, good. Okay.
So essentially, we are taking money that we have at this point appropriated for certain projects, and we would be removing, basically, we'd be taking those off the board, if you will, and reassigning them, in this case, to Saddleback building in the one case, and the first ATEP building in the other. Part of the, I guess I need to better understand those items that we're reassigning from A, and B would be, at least on the ATEP, it looks like part of that would be coming out of current operations for ATEP, and so I need to understand how that would affect things programmatically there. So perhaps you can address those items.
Okay. The first question you asked me was related to the Sciences Building and the reappropriation, I guess you can use that term, of funds to the Sciences Building from the Math Science Engineering Building. Now, that building won't take place for some time in the future. The board assigned funds to projects that would take place in the future to keep us from getting a hit all at one time, and with regard to working toward matching state funds on that project. Now, that was thinking we would have state funds, and we don't. So the Math Science Engineering Building project is further down the line than it would have been. We're proposing that it's a better use of those funds to put them toward the Sciences Building and maintaining those funds within the same college. So it's a Saddleback benefit, and it's just happening sooner. It's allowing for one project to happen sooner. And then ATEP, yes, it's all of the funding that would be assigned to the first building comes from assignments you have already made for the ATEP campus. It does include ATEP Tech Refresh and ATEP Site Development. Those are both the categories that you identified as operational and have been determined. There's
Well, I'm seeing also staffing, equipment, and program
development. Yes, absolutely. And a lot of those funds were set aside when ATEP was an independent, not as tied to IVC as it is right now. And there's been a restructuring with the way that IVC and ATEP operate. So IVC is operating ATEP now, and so operationally, it's the need for these funds is different now. I'm not doing that a great justice. Perhaps Dr. Bugay could help me with that, or Chancellor Portner, because they're more intimate with those details.
Okay, Chancellor Portner, go ahead.
None of the ATEP funding that you see here is current operation money. It was money that was set aside. Some of this has been years ago, maybe 3 years ago or maybe longer, when we were thinking we needed to set aside some money. We haven't yet figured out exactly what we're going to do, but we need money to do it with when we get there. But you'll see, for instance, the first one, staffing, equipment, program development. You'll see that some of that money has been spent, and it's been spent on equipment and program development. Some of these others, like ATEP hangar, we thought we were going to run utilities to the ATEP hangar. That's the helicopter hangar that we're talking about. It ends up we're not even going to use that building anymore, so the money set aside for that could be used for something else. So nothing on this list is anything we're depending on for current operation.
Okay, so I guess the question then is, perhaps I need a better idea of what is actually a reappropriation of funds and what is essentially an obsolete project that we've got on here that really shouldn't even be on here anymore. And that's a good, obviously, reason why those monies should be reassigned. And maybe that part of this would, I'm not saying that's a reason not to move forward on this, but it seems to me that that the basic aid list needs to be adjusted in some fashion, to address that.
Well,
Yes.
if I could just interject, my understanding of what we would be doing with this, we're not actually authorizing any expenditures. Those would come back to us in the future. Is that correct, Brandye?
There are 2 board agenda items this evening that would ask you to authorize expenditures for the Barranca Road project and the Sciences building at Saddleback College. The remaining projects would have contracts that came forward to you
Would
for
come back, right?
expenditure.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, is
Yes.
there would be a separate item to come back.
Yes.
And we have 2 on the agenda. Okay. All right. Trustee Fuentes.
My understanding is that Bill's motion is to approve the recommendation, which is on the back page of 6.13. Is that correct, Bill?
Let's look at that for just a second.
Push your mic, please.
6.13. Here, yeah. Okay. If you look on the lead sheet of 613, and the back side of that is not numbered, recommendations. Chancellor recommends that the Board of Trustees approve proceeding the Saddleback College New Sciences building and reassign $14 million and some odd from basic aid dollars previously committed to other Saddleback projects, and approve with the ATEP first building for Phase 3A and reassign 11,193 from basic aid dollars previously committed to other ATEP projects. And from 2010 and 2011, uncommitted basic aid receipts assigned $29 million to the Saddleback College Sciences building and $1 million to Irvine Valley. You all see that?
That was my question. That was your motion.
That was my motion.
That being his motion, Madam President, I asked to divide the question, that 1 and 3 be voted on, and that item 2 be divided, please.
Okay. First, I'd like to recognize, is there a second on your dividing? Well, actually, I'll second. Okay. All right, let's vote on dividing the question. All in favor, please vote. All right, so the item passes with 1 no and 1 absent vote, and 1 student advisory vote. Mr. Vice Chancellor Bugay, would you like to comment?
Yes, on recommendation number 2, there is a typo. That amount should read $12,500,000.
Instead of 11,953?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, 12,500,000. Okay.
Which is mentioned on the first page.
Okay, thank you. All right.
That's in the revised.
We did get that correction if you look at the items that came to us.
Okay.
So with that, then we will vote on, let's take items 1 and 3, Trustee Jay, and who was your second? I forget. Okay, Trustee Prendergast. So all those in favor of items 1 and 3, please vote. All right, it passes with 1 absent and 1 student advisory vote. All those in favor of item 2, please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to make a motion? He did make a motion for everything. I'm assuming you made it for that.
I will make the motion for 2, if somebody will second it.
Trustee Prendergast seconded. All right, vote, please. All right, that passes with 1 no vote and 1 absent and 1 student advisory vote. All right, thank you very much. And with that, we will now take up item 6.15, which is also related to this new market tax credit. So we did do 1.4. We passed it, yeah. All right, who's going to present 1.5? This is to authorization to form a nonprofit corporation for the South Orange County Community College District, and the recommendation from the Chancellor is an approval.
Second.
9 o'clock. No, it's 9, yeah. Okay, any discussion? All right, let's vote on the item. All right, this passes with 1 no vote, 1 absent, and 1 student advisory vote. All right, I think we're ready to go back to the consent calendar. Is that correct, Yes. Okay, so consent calendar is 5.1 to 5.28, I believe. So do I have a motion, or let's see, Chancellor Portner would like to speak? Did you have something to speak?
Yes, I wanted to comment before we vote on item 5.7, which is
5.7 is Irvine Valley curriculum
Irvine
revisions.
Valley College curriculum, and they've added, Irvine Valley has added a couple of sheets of transfer programs that didn't make it in the agenda.
I believe we did get that.
You were provided with that,
Yeah.
but I wanted to make that point before you voted.
Okay. Did you want to comment, President Rockmore? Okay. So with these corrections to 5.7, then, is there any other change that we have on the consent calendar? Okay. Trustee Lane? No? So no one wants to pull anything off the consent calendar? Trustee Fuentes?
Madam President, I'm struggling. I thought I had circled an item here. Was there an item for architectural services at ATEP in the
519.
519, they say?
Just see if I can.
Did you want that one pulled? Oh, I'm sorry. You want, all right, let me get this clear. Trustee Lang wants 5.8, and Trustee Fuentes wants 5.9.
Well, I think it's the same item. We're struggling to find the, which is the correct number.
Well, 5.8 is on Irvine Valley College landscaping.
No, this was for architectural services for,
ATEP is 5.19. Master Architectural Services. 5.19.
yes, that's the one. Thank you.
That's one you want to pull. All right, Trustee Lang. Was that the item you wanted, or is there another one?
No, that's it.
Okay. So with that, yes, we have a motion to pass everything but 5.19.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Trustee Prendergast, do you hear a second? All right, very good. We'll vote on all of the consent calendar items except 5.19. Let's vote, please. All right, they pass unanimously, and one student advisory vote and one absent. We'll now take up 5.19. Okay, do I have a motion for this item? To pass this item? I'm sorry. Well, we already voted, I'm sorry. All right. All right, 5.19. Do I hear a motion to approve this item?
So move.
Second. All right, Trustee Pendergast seconded. So, Trustee Fuentes, comments.
Madam President, the item before us, 5.19, is the approval of Master Architectural Services to GKK. And I am going to vote no on this item just because of my concerns about continued expenditures by the district at ATEP. But I want to make clear also that this is not in any way reflective of my esteem or lack of esteem for gkkworks. I think they have been an outstanding professional firm who have rendered very good service to our district. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Lang.
And I'm also going to abstain from voting on this item because I did receive a political contribution from gkkworks and don't feel that I ought to vote on this item.
Okay, thank you for your comments. All right, let's vote. No one else seems to want to speak. Go ahead. All right, the matter passes with one no vote, one absent, and one abstention, and a student advisory vote. So it's four yes votes passing in the item. All right, we are now at the point of going to our action items, 6.1. So this is a matter for legal services for Saddleback College and for KSBR, I believe. Do you want to present this item?
Move approval.
President Burnett, do you want to present this item? You don't need to. Okay. Any comments, questions? No. All right, let's vote on the item. We have approval or a motion and a second. Passes unanimously with an absent vote and a student advisory vote, yes. 6.2, Saddleback College MOU between UCI and SOCCD, and that's for formation and operation of RapidTech Center.
Move approval.
Okay. All right, Trustee Lang.
I noticed that under the terms of this contract, let me find it, excuse me, section 1.4C on page 6, this talks about being really a joint project, and yet I noticed that if there is if there's a new invention or material that is invented by UCI employees, that that item is going to belong to UCI. But under C, it talks about licensing of intellectual property by UCI employees or appointees. There'd be a 50-50 arrangement. And I guess my question is, what happens if there is intellectual property that's created specifically by the personnel from Saddleback College? Why would we not have the same kind of provision there that would allow us to essentially get the full rights to that? So maybe somebody could address that.
We, in essence, right now, if an employee develops something while they're working for the district, it is district's property. And that's because we were absent a policy to actually define how intellectual property or any contractual provisions. In this case, this specific item was a matter of pretty intense negotiation with UCI, and so we had some lengthy discussions. We're pretty much agreed to go by their policy, which in essence what happens is that it's a 50-50 split between the institution and the inventor of the project, except in this case it's not a specific individual, it's Saddleback College, we get the 50, and then UCI would get the other 50%, primarily because it's on their turf. And so that's where we end up with the negotiations with it.
Well, if I could just join in, it appears to be silent, basically, on whether Saddleback College employees do the inventing.
It sounds like they negotiated better than we did.
Well, it's 50% goes to RapidTech / Saddleback College.
That's talking about revenues. It's not owning the rights of the invention. Part B says they own the rights, whereas Part C talks about distributing the
Good point.
income.
If the board would like me to, I can go back and fix that and make certain that we don't go forward.
I'm just curious. It just seemed like an anomaly in the contract to
It is.
me.
Well, I would think at the very least, I share your concerns, Trustee Lang, that we should have a comment in there about when Saddleback employees do the inventing or their appointees do, that we own it. That's what they've got. Why don't we have the same?
We can go back and take care of that.
Okay, since this
That's
is...
direction from the board, I can go back and...
Or at least perhaps you can take that under advisement and come back to us as to why there's a good
Right.
reason that, obviously I wouldn't want to lose the opportunity
Right.
to work with UCI on something like this, but I want it to be a fair arrangement or somebody to explain to me why this is a fair arrangement.
Trustee Lang, would you
Ideally-
like to make a motion to table till the next meeting?
Well,
Yes.
There is a time constraint here. I have, our negotiation period has gone on for a long period of time with, the original document was not to our interest. This is one area I thought was addressed by point C, but I need to address in point B and C. If the board wants, I can go, if the board desires to approve this, and based upon the condition that B is repaired, that would help things because there's some frustration because they've held hostage some of their invoices for a period of time and they would like to get paid.
So what are you suggesting? That we would, at this point, vote on the item, but we would modify B to have the same language for Saddleback as is there for UCI?
Well, for our district.
For our district, yes.
Or if you could grant the Chancellor authority to proceed with this if that provision is met.
Well, I would be
Board.
comfortable with that if the rest of the board would be.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so do you understand the direction and the motion, Chancellor? Has this been reviewed by our legal counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's a motion. Do I hear a second? Okay. No other person wants to be recognized. Let's vote on the item with that amendment or change. All right, it passes unanimously with one student advisory vote and one absent. All right, 6.3. And this is Saddleback College faculty hiring request addendum.
Move approval.
Madam President?
Yes.
Pardon me, this is the one that I have a...
Okay, yes,
A change,
6.3.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
If it pleases the board, we would like to, we have an error on the third position under academic discipline. It reads right now health sciences. It should read medical technology / phlebotomy.
Where is that? I'm sorry, say it again.
On page 2 of 6.3, there's a list of 3 positions.
Your right hand.
The third position.
Sorry, show me. Oh, okay.
Under academic discipline in the third position says health sciences. That should be replaced with medical technology / phlebotomy.
Okay. And could you like to explain to everybody what that is? I think we know, but
Phlebotomy?
phlebotomy.
Blood.
Blood. Draw your blood. Suck your blood. Okay. All right. No one wishing to speak. Let's vote. All right. All right. Passes unanimously with one student advisory vote and one absent vote. Thank you. 6.4. This is Saddleback College pool deck replacement substitution of subcontractor E&E Custom Ironworks. And let's see, who's going to present this item?
Second.
It's you?
Yeah, if there's any questions,
Okay.
if it speaks for itself.
It speaks for itself. I see no one wishing to speak. Let's vote on the item. All right, passes unanimously with a student advisory vote yes and absent vote for trustee Milchecker. Trustee 6.5. Can I just introduce the item first? Irvine Valley College Employment Training Panel Agreement. And President Rockmore.
Well, I believe we need to mention that there was a correction. You have the corrected number before you.
Right, 6.5.
The number was 119,000, and it's actually 199,000 plus the remaining amount, the 465. And so my only other comment is to congratulate Dean Gatewood for receiving this grant.
Okay, very good. Seeing no one wishing to speak, let's vote on the item.
By the way, it needs to be seconded. I'll second it.
I thought we had a second. It was seconded. Thank you, Trustee Jay. All right, everyone, it passes unanimously with one student advisory yes vote and an absent vote, Trustee Milchecker. 6.6, and this is discussion and approval on board policy revisions. Chancellor Portner.
These policies were before the board at the last meeting and for review, and so they're back this time for approval.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Okay.
Move approval.
To your second. All right. Seconded by Trustee Prendergast. All those in favor, please vote. The item, well, one way or the other. All right. Again, passes unanimously with a student advisory yes vote and Trustee Milchecker absent. 6.7.
Second.
Okay. All right. I don't really think we need to vote on something that's for review and study, but they are here. If you have any questions, this is the time. Trustee or Chancellor Portner. No comments?
I want to point out that policy 104, which is at the back of this group of policies, is for the student member of the Board of Trustees. It's in response to the student request that was here at the last meeting. What this would do is to rotate the student trustee from one college to the next each year. So we would eliminate the election problems.
Okay.
And it would be up to the student governments to coordinate with one another to be sure that the student trustee has information to represent both colleges.
Okay, I just would like to, I have people wishing to speak, but I'd like to hear from our students who are here at the, you're one of our student representatives? Yeah. Introduce yourself, please. I'm sorry, I can't read your name.
I'm Associated Student Government President at Saddleback College. I just wanted to say that this will give us a fair chance to represent both of our colleges. Our initial proposal was to have 2 student members of the Board of Trustees. We actually came to a compromise between the 2 colleges, and this is something that we really want at Saddleback College. I don't know how Irvine Valley College feels about that or their student government, but I know that this is something that we support definitely.
Thank you.
We're really excited about it.
Thank you very much. And how about our student trustee? Oh, I'm sorry, if we could hear our student trustee comments too. Trustee Shea.
I know I've talked to both student governments from Saddleback and Irvine, and I know Saddleback is really pushing for, like what she said, 2 student trustees. And I know for Irvine Valley that they oppose it. They want to stick to the original document, the original bylaws of it. But we agreed to compromise and to support our president, to support Irvine Valley's president, to compromise with having rotating one trustee for each year. So
Okay, well, we'll let Irvine Valley's president speak to that.
Well, I was just going to say that I thought that the student government had met and voted to approve the compromise. So, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Prendergast has a question.
When I first, I guess I misread this when I actually thought of it as a month thing because when I first looked at this, it matched what we do in the Tustin Unified School District. The board has 3 student trustees, one from each of the 3 high schools, that each month changes. So you could have 2 trustees but they rotate who's up on the dais each month, is the way I originally read it. And when I saw that, I thought, hey, this is a really good idea. It gives them kind of what they were looking at doing. By doing a one-year rotation seemed, now I don't know how much I like it.
I would just say that I think that our agendas are very large, and it takes a little bit of a learning curve, and it might be a little more complicated if we tried to do it on a monthly basis. That would be my only comment. So, anything else? Okay, seeing no other requests to speak, let's vote on the item, and we're going to be voting on all of these policies.
No,
I'm sorry. Oh, it's just us for review and study. You're right. So this will come back for a vote, and at that point, you can address any concerns. All right, very good. We're at 6.8, and this is a nomination of someone for the Marion Bergeson Award nomination.
President.
Yes.
I'd like
Trustee
to
Fuentes.
take this opportunity to nominate our colleague Dave Lang for this award. This is an annual award recognized as a tribute for distinguished service in education. Trustee Lang's long tenure on this board, his significant contribution in fiscal responsibility to the success of our district makes him, I think, a perfect candidate. I would move the board's nomination of Dave Lang.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any questions or comments or another nomination? Let's vote on the motion. Trustee Lang, you're going to vote? You're going to abstain? Thank you. Or you're going to vote for yourself? Okay, very good. All right. It passes unanimously with a student advisory yes vote and an absent vote. Trustee Milchecker. Congratulations and good luck, because you'll have a lot of competition. 6.9, academic personnel actions for approval and ratification. Any changes? All
Move
right.
approval.
All right, there's a motion. Do I hear a second? Second by Trustee Meldown. All right, let's vote on the item. All right, again, passes unanimously with a student advisor yes and an absent vote for Trustee Milchecker. 6.10, classified personnel action items, approval.
Move approval.
No changes? Oh, Trustee Jay.
My concern is this. When you get on
Mike,
to,
please. Could you put your mic?
Yeah, my concern is this. When you get on to item C, authorization to establish and announce a classified position, and there's three of them that are listed there.
Where are you,
The first
please?
one, of course, I have no problems with at all. It's categorically funded. It will not be paid for by basic aid funds or district general funds or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But the last two, I do have questions on, 2 and 3. Are these replacements for people who are currently on the staff? That's what a big question is. They're expensive positions, range 125 and range 126. Student services specialists and veteran specialists.
And those are both at IVC, I believe. So
You know,
President
Glenn,
Rockmore?
Yes, they are, and if I may, I would like to have our Vice President for Student Services, Dr. Gwen Plano, address that for you.
Oh, sure. That's great. Okay.
Good evening, and I'm pleased to address both. In terms of the veterans position, you'll find that it's very similar to what you have at Saddleback, but it's slightly changed to better fit our approach to working with the veteran students. Now, in terms of your concern about funding, we have a person in that role, but it isn't designated appropriately. So there will not, in the end, be, when everything is final, be any extra cost. For the
So somebody is in the Veterans Affairs role already?
That's correct.
Okay.
But not
Are they at
pub-
range 126 or whatever it is, or?
I'm not even saying that that particular person will remain in that position, but we have someone who's trying to hold the program together. There is a variety of people who actually we are considering maybe a transfer even.
Okay.
But that is, first we need to establish the position. The overall intention is not to add any extra cost.
Okay, I guess my other question is, will these two positions be filled by people on the staff who are in other positions in the district right now?
That is our intention, yes.
You do plan to
Yes.
take other people who are in the district now and replace them in these positions?
Yes.
How are these positions paid for now? Are they categorical now, or?
The position at ATEP doesn't exist. It is one that we are required to have by accreditation standards.
Neither one of them exists now, you say?
Not on
Student
our
affairs?
campus, no. Neither does. At ATEP, we have tried to provide the student services support that is necessary, essential, actually, but we're doing it by bringing in staff as needed, and we have a part-time counselor who is also serving in a role there. This position, the one position for ATEP, will provide the consistency in the overall approach that is necessary for student services to be for our students.
Which one will go to ATEP? The student services position?
Yes.
Not the veterans?
No, the veterans will remain on our campus, on our main
Okay.
campus.
But they will come out of existing people who
Yes.
exist in the district now?
That is
Who will
correct.
drop other positions?
That is correct.
That is correct. Yeah. Well, okay, I'd like to table these two positions and bring them up next month, because I don't think they've really been explained thoroughly enough. I'm very concerned with that. And I'd like to know about, they're both expensive positions. They're both going to come in with benefits at approximately $100,000. They're 125 and 126 range.
Yes.
And so they're really a big commitment for the district. I don't know if it's a wise move, and I would move that these two items, C, 2, and 3, be tabled.
I'm sorry. Glenn, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I would like to just add a little bit of clarification. For the student services specialist position, that is one that is being called for through our accreditation process. As long as we have an educational center, in this case ATEP, that is the size and dimensions of that facility, they are asking to have some form of student services support there. So this is a new position that is designed, there's not a position like it in the district. It is really an all-encompassing services position that would include giving information on financial aid, EOP, DSP&S, generalist
Conventions,
counseling,
whatever.
and all of that, which will put us in compliance with operating an off-site location like that. That's why that's being developed. And as you know, we have another visit coming here October the 15th, and it would be good if we had that covered. The other having to do with the veteran specialist, this, as we've talked about many times here, is an emerging need that we have here in the community colleges. We're getting many returning veterans as the drawdown is taking place. Their needs are becoming more diverse and more intense in numbers, and so we feel a need to be able to specifically address that need on campus, and that's what this position is for.
Okay. Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's just that it's a big commitment. It's new to me. I'd like to see it on the agenda next month, if that would be permissible with you. We could table those two items, 2 and 3, tonight, and pop them up on the agenda next time, and then we can discuss them a little more thoroughly. David?
The part of this is we were going to be shifting positions, which will mean the layoff of another position at IVC. That position would actually shift over with opportunity to be part of this. And so part of that discussion, we've talked with CSA about layoffs, and we're trying to work hand in hand in the aspect of not bringing the people forward. We need a position first before we can talk about removing other positions for possible transfer into this position. So what could happen, if you like, as a board, it's certainly your right to pull it from the agenda and table it, but we could go forward with the position, and then we have to come back anyway if we're going to fill it next month.
Okay,
So
if you could pull it this month, I'd be glad to vote for it next month, assuming all my questions are answered. I just a little shocked that we're coming up with $200,000 of people here in a very tight year, that's all.
What I meant to say, though, was that we can go forward with the positions, and then fill them next month, and you'll have a second shot at the position with actually the possibility of doing some layoffs to shift staffing within
I
the
prefer to
college.
table them both right now, but yeah, whatever. I would need a second on that, of course.
It doesn't sound like, from what I am hearing, that it's actually new monies, because you already have a person in a position that's going to be reduced, right? So that would make up some of the monies? Is that right?
If I could speak to that, too.
New money
That
or
is-
not? Yeah.
That has been a negotiation, or I should say, that has been HR's efforts with CSEA to pave that path. We already have folks identified for those two positions. President Rockmore has been very clear that we stay within our current budgets and think very carefully about moving people. So it's a reorganization that will serve our students much more thoroughly, meet the accreditation needs. It's actually critical on both fronts. At Saddleback, we have 2 veteran specialists. We have none at IVC. We have a population that's over 300 right now. And the needs for certification of those gentlemen and women is profound. So this is the reason we have developed this particular job description, and we already have in line folks who will be able to serve in that role.
Okay, I'd just like to hear more about it. I'd like to see it on the agenda next month.
Okay,
I need a second, obviously, to table the 2 items.
So
but-
far, we don't have a second. Trustee Lang?
Yes, I think what I hear Vice Chancellor Bugay saying is that he would like the board's authority to establish and announce these positions, but that the actual people that would come forward to fill those positions would occur at a future board meeting. So you'd still have another shot at this, Trustee Jay, in terms of not approving
Right.
the people for those positions, and given the rest of what they described, that seems like a reasonable request to me.
Okay, well, yeah, I prefer to table it till next month, but, yeah, whatever. The board's pleasure.
Okay, so we don't have a second on your motion. Trustee Jay will go forward and vote. All those in favor, please vote. Or I'll vote either way. All right, so the item passes with 1 no vote from Trustee Jay and 1 absent vote and a student advisory yes vote. Trustee Prendergast.
Yeah, I guess we need to make a motion to extend the meeting another 30 minutes.
Okay, second, please.
Second.
All right, please vote. Okay, Trustee Jay? Could you vote, Trustee Jay?
Sure.
Is your mic on? Turn your mic off so you can vote. Okay. Passes unanimously with a student advisory yes and an absent vote. All right, very good. We are now at item 6.11, and that is the annual report on probationary faculty recommended for tenure, and this is a recommended approval item from the Chancellor.
Move to approve.
Yes, you need a motion, please. Trustee Prendergast moves this item. Do I hear a second? Okay. Any comments? Gary? No? All right. Let's vote.
Great faculty, that's my comments.
All right, Trustee Jay, you need to vote. Thank you. And passes unanimously with a student advisory yes, and Trustee Milchick are absent. We're at 6.12, which is the Saddleback College Science Building Architectural Services Contract.
Move approval.
Okay. All right, any comments on this item? Apparently not. Let's vote on the item. Passes unanimously with a yes student advisory vote and an absent vote. Trustee Milchick. We have done 6.13, 6.14, and 6.15, so we're now at the item 7.1, which are the report on outside speakers. Any comments about that report or questions? No, seeing none. 7.2, this is a report on the board requested reports of basic aid receipts and approved projects. We've pretty much gone through that earlier. Any comments, questions? 7.3, the facilities plan status report. Okay, and take a look at that. Any questions? Okay. 7.4, list of board requested reports. To keep you updated. No questions. 7.5, monthly status financial report. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to 7.6, quarterly financial status report. Seeing no comments or questions. 7.7, quarterly investment reports. Okay, moving right along. We're now at our written reports, and we'll start with, sorry, did you? Oh, Lang. Okay, you're on which one? 7.8, sorry. Go ahead, Trustee Lang.
Yes, 7.8 is the report that comes to us periodically regarding the retiree trust fund, and it talks about the initial monies that were funded into that trust, talks about the current monies that we have on hand, but I saw no mention of the actuarial payouts and where we're at on that basis, and where we are in terms of fully funding, and would like some commentary about that.
Gary, you want to talk about that? David, are you able to address this?
I will have to come back next meeting with that became, Trustee Lang? You're correct, it's not on here. And so, you're correct, it's not on here, so yeah, I think the information is very relevant, so I'll bring it back next board meeting.
Okay, Chancellor Porter.
Trustee Lang, I'm not sure if this is what you were driving at, but I do know that in the budget that you adopted for this year, that there was a sum of basic aid money that was transferred into this account to pay for what the actuaries had calculated the account was deficit because of, not deficit is the wrong word, the amount owed to the fund, and it was because, yes.
To keep us on track towards fully funded.
Correct.
Okay. And so I just want to understand where we're at on that path, and if there's a current report from our actuaries that tell us exactly where we're at in that regard.
Okay.
That's what I'm interested in.
And we can bring that back next time.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, Trustee Fuentes.
along this topic, Gary, I'm wondering if, when you bring that information to us, if you might give us a little comparative overview, perhaps in the context of the other districts of Orange County. I know we've always been very proud to say that we have no unfunded liability in this district as regards our pensions. Is that not a fair statement that's been stated many times?
Yeah, this does not deal with pensions. This deals only with medical benefits that are owed to employees because of contracts or agreements, policies, and so it's not related to what you would call a pension.
Okay, well, but in this category, it has been said that we have always been funded, or in recent years
Yes,
anyway. And we're
that's
very
right.
proud of that record.
Correct.
I would like to know how we match up to our colleagues, and what is the situation more generally. I think it would help us in the guidance of our district. Could
Sure.
we do that easily?
Well, it would depend how many districts you want to compare
Well,
to.
no, I'd say the other three districts of Orange County to give us a perspective.
Sure, that'd be easy.
I
We could do
appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we are now at our reports from our constituents groups. So we'll start, I guess we'll start at your end. You want to speak?
Okay, I first want to thank our Saddleback College and Irvine Valley College presidents for working with us with the Board Policy 104 and about the student trustee position. I just really want to thank them because it really matters a lot to us as students. And I also want to thank you guys and our Chancellor for considering this item for next month. I also want to add that we'll be participating in a statewide event called Hands Across California to raise scholarships on April 17th on our campus. So that's my report for the night.
Thank you. And I don't see a representative from IVC student, but we have our president of our Saddleback College Classified Senate.
Due to time, no report.
Okay. CSEA president?
Due to time, no report.
All right, very good, thank you. And President Burdett?
Three things due to time. First, I do want to take this opportunity, and I apologize, I was very ill, and I wish I was there for the exciting second half of the President's Cup. But congratulations to President Rockmore and to IVC and the men's and women's basketball teams there. Also, for the board members' note, I think Trustee Padberg had mentioned it, but both of our teams are in the playoffs. We won our first games, and they're playing again in the next few days. So good luck to IVC's men's basketball, by the way, and obviously Saddleback's men's as well. Second, just wanted to know we had a special guest on our campus on Friday. Congressman Gary Miller was on our campus, and he particularly was able to tour and was very interested in our vet center, our student veterans payments office, as well as our veterans memorial. He wanted me to thank all 7 of you personally, all 8 of you personally, for your tremendous support of our veterans, our troops, and their families. Also, I didn't know if you know this, I didn't realize it's in the 42nd Congressional District, which goes all the way up to I think it's Walnut or Diamond Bar, yes. We're the only community college in that district.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Fascinating. But he's a wonderful man and a wonderful representative, so just want to give you the extensions from him. Finally, we, of course, want to thank the board tremendously for your votes and support tonight for the Sciences Building. It's long in coming. It is the #1 priority in our campus and our district, and you very much did the right thing, and we appreciate that. Wanted to thank our Chancellor Portner, Brandye Delana, Walt Rice, and certainly everybody at Saddleback College that has worked on this, all faculty, staff, and our administrators and managers. And obviously Dean Jim Wright. I think he's still behind me, isn't he?
Yes, yes.
Anyway, once again, thank you very much.
All right, President of IVC.
Thank you very much. I just have a couple of quick recognitions here. Actually, first of all is recognizing Professor Edwin Tiongson. He was recently awarded the 2010 PSCFA Wyman Howe Coaches Award, and what that means is the Pacific Southwest Collegiate Forensics Association, and this was for best qualities of coaching excellence, so congratulations to him. Also, had an opportunity to attend one of the IVC guest lecture series. I heard Gregorio Luque. You can read in my report his credentials. They're absolutely impressive. I learned a great deal about the history of Mexico in a very short, very collegiate presentation. And I believe right here, Professor Stephen Rochford had a lot to do with the development of that lecture series, if not exclusively. So thank you very much for that. And then to let you know, we have the IVC Foundation dinner coming up here April 26th. We're going to recognize 3 people. I think you know them all. Bill Woollett is one, the first city manager for the city of Irvine. Police Chief Dave Maggart, I'm sure you know. And also our very own Professor Colin McCaughey is our faculty awardee that night. So please put it on your calendar. There'll be formal invitations coming. And then finally, thanks to all of our trustees who attended the Astounding Inventions and also the basketball events, and our Chancellor as well was at both of those, and it's good to feel that support. Thank you very much.
Okay. And Provost Peoples.
Thank you. Just a few comments tonight. I would like to say that at the ATEP site, we continue to make very good progress on many fronts. The demolition of the Phase 1 is very close to complete. Nadir Shah with Hudson Capital did the walkthrough and did the punch list this last week. We're actually just doing some ground smoothing kinds of things. Drive by there. The view is very different. You can actually see across part of the land. The Phase 2 will probably start in April as we bring in our next contractor for that demo. And then lastly, I would like to say that the meetings both with the City of Tustin and the meetings also with the County of Orange continue to go very well, making progress toward both of those significant agreements, which will help us with the ATEP site. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, you don't look like Lisa Davis Allen at all.
She would be very happy to know that everyone recognizes that, too.
And you introduce yourself.
I will.
please, for the
I'm
audience.
Stephen Rochford, and I'm the chair of the Academic Affairs Committee for the Senate.
Mhm.
And Lisa and her family moved this weekend. She told me that at about 9 this morning, can you please go tonight, because I couldn't even find the boxes with our clothes in it this morning. So they're home unpacking. So just a few quick announcements. One, thank you for continuing the probationary faculty for the next set of years. We anticipate, we've been very busy with curriculum, and we anticipate by the end of this year that we will have 466 course actions of some sort at Irvine Valley College. So we've been very busy, and Jody Titus has been the chair of that committee for the Academic Senate. And then Lisa also asked me just to announce, we do have 2 lecture series, and I know she's announced them in the past. One is the IVC to IVC, that's the blue one that's up there. And we have 8 of them for this is the whole season. We've had 4, we have 4 more. And these are IVC faculty speaking on any topic they wish to anyone who wants to attend. And so you can see the next one is coming up a week from tonight, March 7th. And then we do have one more distinguished academic lecture series, and we'd like to thank not only the college but the Associated Students of Irvine Valley College for their support of this series. And we do have, the second one is Dr. Cecile Whiting, and that's this flyer that you have up there also, Seeing Los Angeles in Art and Photography of the 1960s. And she is a professor of art history at UC Irvine.
Thank you. And Mr. Long.
I have no report.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. And next we have Saddleback Senate.
I feel like a buzzkill, because I do. We had about 500 changes to our
Could you
courses.
speak into the mic?
Yeah. That is a favorite line I've heard tonight. We have about 500 changes to our courses, and one of the things that we're very pleased that we've made progress on is that some of our departments in the social behavioral sciences have moved forward in implementing Senate Bill 1440, and that is the transfer degree. And the Senate will be looking at that tomorrow and perhaps taking action to approve it, and then it would come before you. So we're very proactive on this. We're looking forward to creating more opportunities for our students. And speaking of creating opportunities for success, on behalf of the faculty of Saddleback College, we are so grateful you approved the funds and the architecture for the new Math Sciences building. It is a great day, and you'll hear much cheering if you lean out your doors about 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, coming from that neck of the woods. So thank you so much. That has been a project near and dear to us, and has been in every document we've written, so thank you.
Great.
Sorry. Almost done. Speaking of guest speaking, we have an emeritus institute that has guest speakers about every 2 weeks, and we also have, if I'm correct, Dr. Wright, we also have a math science lecture series, and Nobel laureates, respected and retired professors come back and give speaking. What is the next one, Dr. Wright? If you don't know, that's okay. Oh, somebody who did a presentation on Marie Curie, but it was actually more of a performance, a historical performance. So it was much more connected to what the students usually interact with. So it was quite lovely. Anyway, thank you so much.
Great.
You've made a long night very happy.
Well, just before we close, speaking of the Emeritus Institute, I did neglect to mention one thing in my report, and that was that I represented the board and this meeting at the Leisure World Television last month, and on Wednesday this month, our trustee Prendergast will be doing just that. So that's a really good thing that we do, tell that community where we have so many of our emeritus programs how our board meeting went and what happened here. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Second? You're walking out. Okay. I think we're going to adjourn. Thank you, everyone.